Hey guys, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm Ken Somerville. We've got Andy Lopez, the invisible gardener, beside us. And today we're talking about weeds are an important part of soil biology. Not just a little part, they're a very important part. So, Andy, why do you say that weeds are such an important part of soil biology?
I feel very lightheaded. I'm feeling very lightheaded. I think it's all glowy.
You're glowing, and we got that sweatband going on. You're down there, in Malibu where it's nice and hot. So your head's being kind of shaved off there, but you're not fading out today, so that's a good day today.
So listen, I went out there and shot a video of my garden, which was a perfect example of how weeds are important in the garden.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to be able to transfer between my PC and my Mac. I have this thing called Dropbox, but I haven't figured it quite out yet. But there has to be a way just to transfer. Oh, somebody mentioned that I should just get a one of those little sticky things you stick in the computer that automatically will do for both. Was that you?
Could have been. I don't remember. Got like an external hard drive you're talking
Yeah,
about.
a little stick that where I would stick in the Mac and download the movies and then stick it into PC. Then I have it here.
A memory stick.
So anyway, for me, I give you an example because this is how I work here. But it's also the same is true pretty much everywhere around the world. And also too, one people should understand that the definition of weeds will change if you go from one country to another country to another country to Africa to wherever the name.
I don't even like the term weeds. I call them earlier transitional plants because they help the soil so much. A lot of people look at a dandelion, which is a medicine in all its parts, but they call it a weed. That's why I don't like the word weed.
We should we should retitle this show, "What Are Earlier Transitional Plants?" Like, do you know what earlier transitional plants are? Or something like, I bet you don't know what earlier transitional plants are. You can cut it up any way you want to. But yeah, and I knew you were going to come up with that. I was going to ask you that. I just didn't remember what it was. Otherwise, I would have said it earlier first.
Oh, no. Well, I learned from Leighton Morrison's friend, Leif Olson. Now he uses a little bit of a different term, but it's basically the same thing. It's the plants that came before earlier successional plants, I think is what he uses. But it's that succession of plants and the biology that goes with them that our soils needed to have before we could have the plants we have today. And they're very important and informative to us. So sorry, Andy, I interrupted you, brother. Go ahead.
That's okay. And in my garden is a perfect example because when I've been gardening in this house since middle of February. So it's about February, March, April, May, 3 months, right? 2 or 3 months. And so the first plants that are here are the so-called plants that are here first, right? I don't want to call their name again, but they're the plants that were here first. And they really, there's a wide range of plants, but one thing they have in common, they really like growing there. They're very strong, they're very powerful. They do all this stuff everywhere. It's like, holy cow. And then it doesn't rain, they're still growing. So, I see them as pioneers. Basically, what they do to the soil is they put roots down into the soil for starters. They put all types of organic matter into the soil, all types of biology into the soil, all kinds of minerals in the soil. They go through the cycle, and people are idiots if they take the weeds and throw it away, put it in the dump, haul it away. That's very, very not the thing to do. You want to take those weeds and recycle them right back into the soil again.
Mother Nature made them grow for a reason, and then if you're taking them away, you're losing out on the reason she put them there. You need to put them back into that soil. That's why they were growing in that soil.
So when I a long time ago when I was young, I was walking and I was trying to remember the name of it. It's a I think it's Appalachia Trail. It's a little trail runs along the East Coast. It all starts somewhere in Georgia and works all the way up to Vermont.
Okay, yeah, the Appalachian Trail.
I think that's the Appalachian Trail. So I've been on it
Yeah.
a couple of times, and I went to a place called Putney, Vermont. But on the trail, it's really cool. There are lots and lots of native quote weeds, native plants are growing everywhere.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get to walk with some people who are like they write down the name of all the plants and they say, "Oh, this plant is doing that, and this plant is doing that," and so you get to know that what because this one guy was a farmer. He says, I don't have to do a soil test. I don't have to. I know exactly what the pH is, and because of these particular plants that grow on the property. And what I do is I make sure that I rotate my property with these weeds. So rather than just cleaning the whole thing out, I rotate the areas that I clean out and then leave the weeds grow in the other areas, and I go back and rotate them again. And so the weeds provide a massive amounts of organic matter to the soil,
which
and
is necessary.
really cool, huh?
Yeah. Well, you
Right.
need that organic matter for the biology to break down the cells from that organic matter to put it into the cells of the new plants you're trying to grow.
So when I started early on in my youth, I've always treated plants. Well, see, I don't like the words weeds, but I wanted to make sure people know what we're talking about. So I guess we can say them plants, those plants, or whatever. But because like you, I don't like the word weeds, but it gives a bad. The weeds are something that are bad, and they're not. So like.
Well,
right?
considering that most of the weeds that or plants people call weeds are actually medicinal plants that someone harvesting for plant medicine would be going out and harvesting those weeds, right? It's all in a mindset more than what the plant is.
So Scotty says about companion plants. And
Yeah.
that's very similar to weeds, a weed and another plant together. They're like either they're companions or they're not. You would think because they're weeds,
All
they
right,
would not
Scotty,
be
get in the
companions.
basement, man. Get in the basement.
What? Get in the basement?
Well, yeah, he's got a tornado warning, so head where you got to go, man.
Oh my goodness! Wow. I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm not going to say, "Gee, no, I tornadoes."
Well,
like
we just hope everybody that's in line of any tornadoes is safe and secure today.
Yeah. Where's he at? Do you know?
I'm not sure where Scotty is. No.
So anyway, so I've learned there's different states, like we talked about, different stages of weeds. And so when you want to cultivate an area, like for my area here, I want to cultivate it, make it into a wild garden to some extent. And of course, you do want to have the natives, the locals, as part of the wild garden, because that's the term rather than a cultivated garden. Because I want to have whatever grows here really well, right? Whatever grows. Oh, West Kentucky. Okay, see you later. Bye. He's still here. I guess he's okay.
Well, just stay safe, Scotty.
So I want to grow whatever it likes to grow here, and I use them as a way to help my plants that I start. Whether I started I threw a whole bunch of seeds around of flowers and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I find that it works a lot better than if they were just there by themselves on the soil. And there's no way I'm going to take that barren hard rock soil and try to turn it over and that soil too and turn it over and get all kinds of things to try to make it to add more stuff to it and then plant the seeds. No way I'm going to do that. I've tried. This is way too much work. You don't really need to do that. It's easier if you start things growing. The faster you start and key into what's growing there. So the weeds are the ones that are there, but then you can plant other flowers with it. I have no vegetables out there in the weed section, in the flower section. I call it, basically I'm making it the barefoot garden section. There's a little Buddha there. You're supposed to walk around barefoot. Now you can't walk around barefoot because there are all kinds of, so one definition that might fit into weeds would be plants that really hurt you if you touch them.
Well, let's see, poison ivy,
So,
cactus. Where you are mainly cactus plants,
well,
things
and they
that are
also
very
have
prickly.
uh, no, basically, they're stinging nettles.
Yeah,
Stinging nettles. They're plants with major a billion thorns, a billion little thorns in them. And I look
yeah.
at them and say, "Oh, come on! You want a piece of this?" I'm going, "Holy cow!" And they multiply really fast. So I don't know if I should call them weeds or just very aggressive plants. They're very plants that they really want to stay here, right? They really do. So I leave some of them alone, but it's a couple of
Mhm.
times I have walked into them, and I was like, "Hey, we're supposed to be here in peace. Stop it!" But the rest of the so-called weeds of family weeds, a lot of them are grains, a lot of them are various different kinds of
Mhm.
beautiful flowers. They just have evolved to do really, really well in this environment, and so I
Mhm.
like that. I like that idea, and it helps the other kinds of plants that I bring into the environment, and
Well,
and holds water,
more
right?
roots in the soil, Andy, is a key. The more plants you have, the more roots you're having, the more that the plants can interact with each other and help each other to grow and be healthy.
So I was thinking about that today, and what I ended up saying was that, the ex-military, you would go, the more boots in the ground, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the more roots in the ground, and that should be like a new model for the Earth Army, the Army of the Earth.
Uh-huh.
More roots in the ground, and that could be a good title for today's show. More roots in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very odd way, it really explains everything. And in this particular back area, for example, I've noticed that when I first got here, there were certain kind of weeds that were growing, and I noticed that throughout. So I've only been here 3 months, and I already noticed different kinds of other weeds are coming up too, as well, from all these rains. And so
Yeah.
some of them are very, very interesting varieties that they look beautiful, and if you leave them alone, they make a nice environment. So I'm planting amongst them. I have other things I plant with them. So I'm hoping that throughout the year, down the field where I live, there's a whole field of some kind of flower that's wild, some kind of thing that's. I should take. I know I gotta take a picture, but it's like a field of yellow flowers, and these are all wild flowers.
Okay.
So something's going on that makes the environment perfect for them for that, right?
Yeah. Well,
So I,
exactly. 'Cause they're not going to sprout if the environment isn't proper for that seed to sprout. It's like your weeds or that type of a plant. If the environment isn't right for that seed to actually germinate and sprout, it's not going to. It's just going to remain in the soil.
I'm thinking of here's the top secret. This is
Okay. Shh.
is it okay? Anybody's no. So I mentioned that big field of flowers, right?
Right.
Anybody's no. So I'm getting echoes. I mentioned that big field of flowers, right? Do you hear that? Am I getting echoes?
Yeah, I'm hearing something. Yeah.
Getting echoes. Oh,
There you go. You had YouTube open on
hey,
another
you know
device.
what? My phone is picking you up. My phone is picking you up. I have no idea how that happened. Hello, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm scared. Look at it. Hey, weeds are an important part of soil biology. Look at that right there.
You
See?
you're recording your text, your voice thing is on. What the heck?
I had no idea what. Oh my god! I'm so scared now. I forgot what we were talking about. I think I'm gonna have to quit the. You know what? Yeah.
Yeah. Potions and lotions.
Holy cow! But I've learned also too that in well, see, when I lived in Florida, there were completely different weeds, and there are weeds over here. So
Oh yeah.
you get to know your weeds. I have a friend who had this giant book called "Know Your Weeds," and
Okay.
I actually had some things that he had written down about it, but again, I couldn't transfer the information. But basically, an old farmer, and a lot of information you can learn about weeds also is very good in the Old Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah.
You can always start reading especially they're all, you can pick up some old ones to read. They're fun. I have a 1910 Old Farmer's Almanac, and I have a subscription for Old Farmer's Almanac. But they usually tell you weeds, especially what part of the country you're in, what weeds are growing in that part of the country. They would say what plant is growing, and that the soil will be deficient in this mineral.
And that's
one of the main places to learn that.
Yeah.
The main places to learn that, because a lot of these good old boys, they have it down. They have it down.
Yeah.
Another place that's really, really good to know about minerals and weeds, it's called Acres USA. It's a magazine I talked to you guys about that is done for organic farmers across the United States. It's called Acres USA. And these are good old boys. I'm telling you, these guys are like, they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Oh, I will say hundreds of years, but as long as the United States has been around, I'm betting. And they have it down to understanding what weeds do. You can't say they don't go by the words weeds there either. Oh, Farmer's Almanac, great information and charts. Yes, I figured you would have one, silly. Anybody who knows anything, it's always using those Farmer's Almanac. And of course, many weeds are edible. And for me, I love it that there are weeds there, because it means that the soil is not that dead yet, right?
Yeah.
There's still a chance for it. And if you guys want to grow here, so be it. By the way, can you introduce a few more of your friends and you start growing more stuff with it? So I've learned that it's very important to allow that to happen, because in nature that's what normally happens.
Well, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
In nature, it normally replenishes the soil through so many different ways. And what we do is we're cleaning up and hauling away, and so it doesn't fall down again. So it's too bad that the people, if they thought of like instead of calling them weeds, I would call them, what did you call them again?
Earlier transitional plants.
Nobody's going to remember that. I already forgot the earlier transitional plants.
Yeah.
If I say that, okay, I'll say it 20 times. Earlier transitional plants. Earlier transitional. Earlier.
I think, Andy, the best way to actually explain it to people would be, the medicinal plants people talk about.
Yeah.
That's generally what we call weeds. They're actually healing the soil as much as they can heal us humans.
They're medicinal plants for the soil. Yeah. That is really cool. I like you because you have a way of making very clear, and I'm going to use this.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have. Oh no, it's very good. Just like you did, it's all about the biology, but basically medicinal plants for the soil. It's a really good title for weeds because that's exactly what it does. That's so cool. That's literally that's what it does, because the weeds are there. Their whole thing is they go down, they have deep, massive roots, right? And they pull, and they don't just pull everything. Genetically, they pull this one particular thing, energy, whether it be, whether it be iron, mercury, whatever it is, they pull up, and then their job not only is to pull it up, but they'll say, "Oh, we're done," and they die and decompose and drop it all right back down, and they take it from deep down in the soil with top layers out there up to the topsoil. So that the microbes can get, and they bring the microbes along with them. They feed them, right? That is so cool. But I never thought of it but that's exactly what they do. They are soil. What was it again? Soil what? I gotta write it down. Stop it.
I'm gonna throw a banana here. Okay, weeds are manna, not a cure.
Manna, but not a curse. Yes, right.
Yeah, but they heal the soil. They're if you're in the military, that's who you call. That's the medic. That's coming to heal the soil. And it's not just the nutrients, say iron or calcium, etc. It's the biology, because you have to consider there's biology on the outside and inside of every seed that we plant or is in the soil. And when that biology gets activated and that seed sprouts, it puts out that biology to, encapsulate that area the seed is sprouting in. That's the exact biology that plant needs. Well, that's going to be going out into your soil structure. So the more plants that you put in any area, the more diverse your biology is underneath the ground, as much as the diversity of plants and flowers or whatever you're growing is on top of the ground.
And for me, what I do to encourage that process to happen and to spread out, that's why I do. And here comes the commercial for my services. What I do when I go to people's properties is
Mhm.
that not only do I encourage all this to happen, right? Because there are lots of
Yep.
different ways you can make the biology, but the spraying is basically spraying more biology onto the soil.
Yeah.
Encourage. I feel that maybe 99.9% of biology die, but that 1.01% that survives, every
Mhm.
time I go there is more and more of that biology available. And that's the key to, because a lot of times you encourage the weeds and everybody to grow together, and it doesn't happen because they don't quite have all the biology needed to make that happen.
Well, they're always constantly trying to, get better, just like we do. That we go to school to get better. Well, the biology is trying to get better and more diverse in any area in the soil structure. That's what aggregation is. It's the collection of biology, taking the components in the soil, putting them together, and it's helping the plant, but it's helping the biology, to be more diverse. Like I know I've mentioned quorum sensing, where the biology gets together to create other biology that doesn't exist in the soil structure. And that's what we're going to have James White on here next week with Leighton. The horizontal gene transfer that he talks about is what is really creating new biology that doesn't even exist in that soil structure. It's able to create from the genetic code of the biology from the plants interacting with each other.
Uh, I was watching what the 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 comments, and Yellow Hippie too was talking about stinging nettle being one of the most nutritious plants, and that's true. So
Mhm.
usually stinging nettle, what is there, they bring up, they're rich in various different types of the iron, all the usual stuff like that will come along with copper, various different other types, definitely calcium. And one of the
Yep.
things they're really, really very good at is they have massive roots, so they
Hmm.
affect quite an area. And then they have particular, where you know why it's called stinging nettle, right?
Because if you get a rash from it, and there's some people that don't, but 99.9% of the people get a rash from stinging nettle. And I have had been a kid and I ran through it, and oh yeah, calamine lotion. Just have
But
calamine lotion.
there's a certain chemical that it has.
Yep.
I don't know the name of it, but there's a name of that chemical. So you get that chemical back into the soil again, and it's a very important part of the soil biology, which is really
Yep.
very cool. A lot of plants that grow there will also learn how to use that very same chemical, and it's done for protection as well. So the plants will have a lot of weeds that grow, other plants that mutate, I guess they mutate, or maybe they just merge. They would have the same properties as the stinging nettle.
Yeah. Well, and
Right.
what Ghetto Hippie here says is true. It's the trichomes. Like we look at, a cannabis plant and all those sticky trichomes. Well, that's what basically I believe may be on that stinging nettle. When you rub up against it, it's putting that oil, etc., those trichomes on your
Right.
skin, and
Right.
that's where the reaction is.
Right, exactly right. And I've often thought I should be able to bottle that somehow and make it work. But I've learned that you can make a tea from it, for example, from any part of the leaf and the part of the flower. And then
Hmm.
that tea is very, very toxic to anything that wants to eat it. So you can spray a certain, like you can spray roses, you can spray on lawns. And so it has the same effect. They can't eat it. So a lot of weeds, and I've learned myself, weeds are not really, like you said, weeds are not weeds, are basically medicinal herbs. So a lot of herbs,
Yeah.
we call them weeds back and forth. But I know a lot of people that they call oregano and these mint weeds, like, right? And nettle tea is exactly right. Nettle tea, you get your iron there, iron, calcium, magnesium, exactly right. And so I've often I look
Got
at
it upstairs.
I was looking at this as stinging nettle today. I'm going, gee, how can I know that I should make a tea out of it, and I guess
Yeah.
probably the best way to do is to cut it, take it in, cut it into little pieces, and bubble the water. I suppose in water, make a tea from it that way. I guess I should do
I don't
that.
know if you have to dry it out first. I'm not
I think
honestly
so too.
sure.
I think so too. I think you're going to have to cut it up and dry it because otherwise you'll be making some kind of soup. I think.
Yeah. But then I don't know. I'm
I
not.
don't
I'm
know
just
either.
trying to make tea.
I think I remember deep in my ancient memories of taking it and hanging up to dry.
Yeah, remember what your mom used to do because she was into this, was she
And
not?
the flowers are the ones that you want. The flowers are the ones that you want.
Okay.
So the leaves are powerful, but the flowers, you have stinging nettles, you have these flowers in the middle. That's what you want. And that's what you make your tea out of.
Well, Ghetto Hippie's saying he's a
Fool.
foraging fool. So he's always out gathering stuff, but he's saying dry or cooking them nullifies the sting.
Right. A lot of things, when you dry them off, so it doesn't sting anymore. So that allows you to actually drink it and use it.
Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't want that stinging sensation going down the old throat.
Right. So if you let it hang up, it doesn't have the sting anymore. The plant doesn't sting you anymore either once it's dry either, because it's the oils that do that.
Yeah.
I know when I lived in Gainesville, my favorite thing was running through the woods, picking all kinds of things to eat. And I very rarely bought any food back because I would eat it as I walked. And you get to learn what foods are, because if you live there long enough, you get to know what animals start eating it, and then you pick it up, you taste it. Oh, this is not bad. What is this one? After a while, if you live there long enough, you know which ones are the ones you can eat, which ones are poisonous. Usually, the poisonous ones are very bitter. There's something else going on with them in terms of stinging. The flowers are saying, "Don't touch me," and the flowers do have the most minerals in the garden outside. And I actually have a video of it, which I actually shot it yesterday. I now have what I'm going to do is I have a couple of apprentices who are going to be coming on the show, not necessarily on this show, even though you might like it, but on my show. And they're going to be, well, there's one already, and I have about maybe 10 of them that are going to come on and do something on my show. And what I'm doing is I'm turning it into like a live workshops. So as the apprentices are going to be asking questions all about the biology and everything. So I want to, and they really are into all this stuff. And one of them yesterday, her name is Suzanne. Let's see, what's her name? Rachel? No, dear, I'm in trouble. Oh my God, her name is Rebecca. Sorry, Rebecca. Sorry, she's watching this. Sorry, Rebecca. Her name is Rebecca, and she shot some videos of me, which I'm going to be producing more on my regular channel. But in the garden, the number one thing I eat in the garden are the flowers of all the plants.
Yeah, there's lots of edible flowers in there.
That's the number one thing. Right, that's the number one thing I eat. So what I have mustard greens, calendula. I have all kinds of my favorite things to do.
Explains why I keep calling you a flower child. You keep eating flowers.
One of the things I do is I plant radishes. So radishes are really, really cool because I've learned about radishes. They grow within 2 or 3 days. You have plants coming up.
Now, are you talking the daikon radish, a normal radish? Because there's different radishes.
Exactly right. So, and you read my mind because in my garden, I do one bed of one type of radish, another bed of another kind, and they're like 10 different varieties. Basically, you can tell by their colors, whether they're striped, whether they're real spicy, or what, there are different varieties and different shapes. And some are, and so I'm going to do more of that because I love planting them around in each bed. And each of them, the flowers are identical to the color that the flesh is. You'll see some varieties are like light blue, and you eat it, you bite into the, that was the light blue flesh, right? And if the flowers is pinkish, and the pinkish is light blue, and there's so many different varieties of radishes. Do you like radishes?
Oh yeah, I used to eat them right out of the garden, just the little red ones we used to grow all the time, and just crumble in your mouth. Oh yeah, I can just taste them right now. Now stop, I'm getting hungry, Andy. Damn it!
But the flowers are absolutely. I think they're better to eat than the actual plant itself.
Okay.
As long as I've been growing, and I can honestly say the flowers of everything that I've been growing are the most nutritional part than the fruit itself.
Now, have you done microgreens, Andy, at all? Have you got
what microgreens?
Microgreens. It's
what about?
The first cotyledon stage of the plant. Is the most nutrient dense.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. Yes, exactly right. So, it's kind of like similar to the seed of green, but basically, because when in the early late '60s, I went to a place called Hippocrates Health Institute, and what they did, this is in Boston, and what they did, they had trays, and the trays they would grow sprouts, and the sprouts would grow about maybe like 2 inches, right? Maybe 2 inches. And that is what they would harvest.
Yeah, I know. I used to do the daikon radish. I'd mix the sprouts in with my eggs. Oh my goodness, my friend.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really that's true. That's the most nutritious part of any vegetable you're ever going to have, second to the flowers. Okay.
Yeah.
The flowers are doing the very same thing. They're pumping all this vitamins and minerals into the flowers so that the seeds get everything that they need. And that's
when you plant the seeds,
right? Yeah. And so I never harvest the whole plant together. I always let certain sections of it go to seeds, and those things are replant. If you do that often enough, these things will amazingly grow there. The biology will be so good for them in that one area that you can grow stuff like crazy. You can, again, I have to show you the videos, because I have the garden is going nuts. The sunflower is taller than the house. There's 3 of them competing with each other. And I don't have the videos of it, but I will get the videos. So I've learned from experience that not to call things weeds, but to use weeds, and weeds are actually the most powerful tool you have in any garden. And you want to have weeds growing there than nothing. You'd rather have weeds growing there than nothing.
Yes,
that'd be truthful, right? Otherwise, you have
Mother Nature does not like bare soil. She'll do everything she can to fix it, and if we can help her repair the soil or repair the damage, it's like a scab. If you cut yourself, you've got a scab and you keep picking at it, it takes a long time to heal. But if you put the bandage on, you leave the scab there, it heals a lot quicker. And Mother Nature wants to heal that soil. That's why she puts those seeds there to sprout, to repair the soil.
What comes to mind is fried zucchini flowers come to mind for some reason. It just entered in my brain. I don't know.
Yeah, that's ghetto hippie. Just you send talking about messages.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Because I would fry everything in a batter, dip them in a batter, and you have them crispy. All different kinds of flowers. I must have told you guys I did one of the first rare food restaurants in Florida. Rare food. I mean, you didn't cook anything, and so we had the flowers, but it was especially to actually fry up some the flowers. But you have to figure out the best way to fry them, and I guess I use mineral oil or vegetable oil, but that would be cooking. So that would be the extent. So I cooked a few things, okay, but fried vegetables with flowers was my favorite. And so you can get zucchini. These flowers, zucchini flowers are excellent. Any vegetable you grow, you can eat the flower, and you learn how to. Cooking is really nice. Steam doesn't really do any good for your flowers. What you want is right. You want the flowers to still look like a flower, so you just have to learn to eat it while cooking. The flowers specifically, you should just eat it. Maybe watch out for little seeds that it has, or even the flowers who have the pollen.
Yeah.
Just eat it, right? just eat it. But the rest of the plant, you might be able to steam it or cook it in different ways. It depends on the plant itself.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I always try to have a lots of different things. You're going to see as my garden starts to grow, and I have figured out this video thing how to do it. Again, there's no reason why I can't take my camera and plug it into the computer. I'm sure of it. So I'm gonna have to, I think something led me to just stick it in and transfer the picture. No, just say yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, I have to figure that one out because this is not really working out. I want to show you guys what I'm doing because every day I'm doing something really cool. I have this really cool worm farm, and the worm farm is also interesting. And we're talking about weeds because you see weeds. I've learned the more I use the worm farm on the property, the less weeds will be. The weeds want to be popping up as often. When you first start, there's lots and lots of weeds. Without doing any kind of pest control, weed control, anything like that, the weeds naturally will taper off. A few things will be here and there, but the weeds will not come back until the biology starts to go nuts again.
Well, you have to consider once the job is done that the weeds won't come back. That happens whether it's dandelions or anything else. I know one gentleman, it was a new road. They'd redone the ditches, and he watched over, I think, 3 or 4 years, different weeds come up each year. And the next year, those wouldn't come up. It was something else until it went through the cycle, and it was beautifully green, lush grass that was growing there with no weeds at all. But it had to go through the transition, the steps to heal that soil before it could get there.
Right, and that's pretty much what I learned to do is go through it in steps. First that's the beginning where you first start to see what the flow of things are going to happen, where things are going to grow, what's going to happen. Like here, I located one really amazing spot in the front of my house. Has a little forest. When I planted some things in there, some seeds, I saw it full of mycelium. Just had tons and tons of mycelium, the white veins everywhere. I said, "Whoa, everybody! Whoa, hello there!" Yeah, and they all stopped and looked at me and went back to work. I thought that was really cool. So I learned, and believe it or not, there's very little weeds up there. Very little. Some plants were growing, but not much that I consider weeds. So I'm learning. So I'm keying into that first, and I want to be able to start introducing the biology more and more throughout the place. But I'm finding that there's really cool biology all the way around me in the forest here. There's a place like in that valley. I want to go down there and steal some of that soil. Maybe one night go down there with a bag or something, and start bringing it up to the garden. I wonder if it'll do good when I put them in the worm farm. What'll happen?
Well, they're going to add to the biology that's there.
Right. Would they fight each other, or it'd be like a big battle? You think that they all die? Are you mind to put us in there with these guys here? We're all going to die. We didn't have a chance.
You have 2 chances, my friend. One is they're going to fit right in because they were missing out of the cycle, or they're going to become food for the biology that already exists there, which is good anyway, because either choice is going to be good for the worm castings that you're producing and the leachate that you're running through. It's just going to have a more biodiverse biology in there. It's good in both ways. It's like adding a foliar feeding. If you're adding a foliar.
So here's the way I look at it. See, my biology in the worm farm is not the local biology. The local biology is the biology in the soil.
Yeah.
See, right? So the real good guys in this case are the local biology in the soil, like underneath the little forest tree there. And so if I'm bringing these worm farm, which is a separate, different kind of biology, the worms are not local for here. I mean, I think these are African night crawlers we're crying out loud, right? they're called that because they're not from here, right? I'm assuming they come from Africa, or do you think they grow in some place?
I don't know
Right?
where they originate
And
from,
they're
man.
massive. They're massive, and I also brought over some European red wigglers. I wanted
Yeah.
to see if they would fight, and I think maybe they are fighting, or maybe they're just sort of walking hand in hand. I can see a big worm and a small worms walking together or crawling together. But I'm sorry, I get carried away. So, but I was just saying that the worm farm is introducing a biology that's not normally for this area for here, and so
Yeah.
I've learned that it may not work out right, but I think that the liquid it's a different story for because if you want the worms to survive here or the biology because the biology that you get from the worms is like a starter. It helps to get things started, and hopefully the biology that there gets to take off. So it's like food for the biology
Yeah.
to
Well,
take
you
off to
consider
start
the
growing.
predator prey, Andy. It's all about predator prey in the soils and the biology. Somebody's always eating somebody else, but in doing that, that's how the jungle works. That's how it keeps growing because then carbon is released, nitrogen is released, the components to build the plants are released in that jungle eating each other. All of a sudden you have a ciliate that's got the calcium that this plant is needed, and it's consumed and released into the structure. It's that generation of everything that just keeps flowing from the weeds that you're planting or that Mother Nature has placed there, your natural weeds that are coming up, Andy, which you were talking about, that's what is native to there. But you're doing by taking those seeds and replanting into that same structure, you're breeding that plant in for the environment that you want it to live in. And as long as you can keep it alive and keep it going, it is going to change and adjust to your exact requirements for where you want to live.
Right, and the biology that's there will be able to flourish because if
Mhm.
if I'm what I see happening is that the local biology is already having a real hard time, and it's not
Yeah.
really being kept at the level that if we weren't here, it would be a totally different story.
Well, you might have soil that's 2 or 3 feet deep in an A horizon full of organic material where California and just about the entire globe, we are so lacking in that organic material in our soils. We can't even call it soil anymore. We have to call it dirt
So
because there's
remember,
no real life.
so remember the ages of the dinosaurs. They were around for millions and millions of years. And
Yep.
lots of places on the earth was fertile, magical forests, topsoil everywhere, all the different biology,
Yep.
and that was millions and millions of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and so and I'm not saying we're going to go back to that type where we have a lush rainforest around the world, but it will be cool. But that's basically it. We want to, and we're nowhere near where we could have been in the past, and so we're really going the wrong way. So it's a process of many people doing something good for the planet, as opposed to many people doing bad things for the planet. And
Well,
that's what
like
the
Diego
show.
says here, right? Add more biology diversity, well, basically for the win, and be more resilient to the climate changes.
That's what you want to do, and if you're lucky to home land, that's what you want. You want to have a wide. I was going to say wide, but that's not even. That's like short. You want to have so much growing in one space, crammed into one space.
Yeah.
You see that
Well,
you want to get the watering system down, the food system down, and
yeah.
you'll find that just doing that alone, you have fresh air, you have fresh water, you can have all the food you need. I mean, it's too bad you can't take it with you when you walk around.
Well,
Right?
especially in Miami. I mean, come on. There's places in the world like China where they're trying to plant more greenery into their cities because at least that's going to take the bad stuff out of the air, and it's more the particulate because we need carbon. The plants need carbon. We need carbon. The biology needs carbon. We're all carbon-based life forms. It's so nice, Andy, that you're able to step out your door and go into an area that you can breathe. So many people, don't have that available. So, the more you can do for that, and the better it is for you to take your shoes off and, sink your toes into the grass and knead the grass and work with that nature that's around you and breathe in the biology that you release when you actually, ruffle that soil with your sandy.
Well,
Sandy.
here's the thing. I live right next door to the highway. You hear the cars going by, and so that's the front. So the difference between, and the front also has this little forest. So that's kind of cool that they go right by past the little forest. So the forest itself is a major barrier for any toxins to go from the cars and the streets to the house. That's in the front of the house. There's the forest in the back of the house too, which has owls in it and hawks living in it, and rabbits are coming over. Say, "Hey, buddy, what you got? What you got?" And the crows are there. They're just the other day, my cat was I call it Ninja Cat. She brought home. Yeah, she brought home. Well, all the lizards in the property have no tails. That's every single lizard has no tail. Okay,
they got swatted off.
No, she catches them and then they shake away, and she ends up holding the tail, and they go away, and they run away. That's natural. They grow another tail.
Yeah.
But she brought home a baby gopher, and I'm going, that's too big to be a meese. And it was a little baby gopher with a little sharp, pointy teeth, and she said, "What are you doing now? What are you doing? I don't know what to do. What are you doing?" Yeah, hand it over, give it to me. She said, "No, I caught it mine." And it was like, so she gave it to me. I said, I'll take care of it. So I went out into the wild area of my garden. For some reason, they were out there warming, enjoying their day, and all of a sudden, this cat comes and grabs her child. I don't know. I don't understand what I got into. Anyway, I put it back. There was a cute little, gopher, baby gopher. So my garden is pretty much open to all creatures as well. I have a gopher that comes in. Gophers do come and visit. I protected the area of the garden, and I don't want them in. The rest of the area, they have a perfect right to run around in and do their thing to it. I looked at the gophers as they're making this really cool areas to plant things. There's a little hill of soil there. Hey, cool, plant a seed here, put a plant here, and they make it really easy for me to, because it's really hard to turn it over. So I use them as my little army to help me spread my garden. And they don't seem, and if they eat the weeds, they eat that too. So they're helping me to weed as well.
Yeah, they're going to the bathroom and adding fertilizer as well.
Right. There's a couple of rabbits running around. No, wait. Yeah, there's 2 rabbits, and I've seen 2 squirrels.
Oh man, I had squirrels. My cats don't like squirrels. They don't allow them on the property. So all I found for my last squirrel I saw was the tail. That was all I found.
Here, put this one on with the banana banana fama. How do I make a comment?
This one here?
No, the one on top of it. I have rainwater gutter on my roof. That's so cool. I have rainwater gutter on my roof, and the tree drops leaves on the gutter, and the gutter fills up with compost and gets full of worms. I need to clean them out every couple of months. Might as well put up a little sign, worms for sale. But that's pretty cool.
Like, how do they get up that 16 feet up in the air, Andy?
I know. It must be a tube that gets them right up. They go right up from the soil. I don't think they start up there.
Well, you got to consider, I cleaned my gutters, okay, and there's nothing left in. It's just metal. So the leaves fall and it builds up, and starts composting because it's moist. But how do the worms get 16 feet?
It's obvious. When the leaves start to fall, it starts to clog up where the tube, and they go right up where the leaves, and they bury through the leaves on the way up. Because that's what happens. All the leaves fills up the gutter, and then the gutter starts
Yeah,
to
but the gutter's 16 feet up. We're talking the
right. So where's it
horizontal
drain to
gutter.
the ground? It drains to the ground.
Yeah, but the leaves don't get trapped in that area,
What
Andy.
if they do? And then they can
Yeah.
just use that to go up.
Sorry, brother, you
No,
got to come up with a new one. Actually, I think that birds, etc., might be the right choice for them being able to move up there. Um, yeah, I don't see them crawling up, 16 foot of vertical pipe to get up into those leaves, but it could be, who knows, you know.
they have to get up there somehow. So we're gonna have to figure this one out. I can't go to sleep now. No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to well, they get around. I'm betting they
Oh
climb up.
yeah, they get around. Yeah.
I'm betting that maybe they climb right on the outside of it. I wouldn't be surprised they just don't climb up there at night. I doubt if birds take him up there and leave. Here, it's for you. Move in here. So maybe they teleport.
I like that one, Ghetto. Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
or
I
they drop
think
down from
therefore
the
I
trees.
am.
Maybe they drop down from the trees.
And that's a possibility. And where do worms come from? Like, I know, like, your maggots turn into flies, decomposing, everything. You get worms, but they're not,
It's,
ground worms, like
it's
you
the
would
same
call
thing
them.
as what came first, the chicken or the eggs. So, so
Yeah.
you can't go back to the very first worm because that's a different story. But the worms come from worm eggs. Worms lay eggs, and
Now,
the eggs can be
okay, so
carried in the air.
here you go, Andy. A bird comes along,
Yeah,
eats a worm that's got an egg sac on it,
yeah.
right? And it eats the worm, consumes that, but the egg sac goes through, comes out the other end,
Doesn't kill the eggs.
and it's in the gutter, rolls down into the gutter, and the worm sac, opens. You got the babies, and all of a sudden you have worms.
That's very true because they normally would just push the eggs into the soil. So if the birds picked it at the right time, the eggs hadn't gone out yet.
Yeah.
But too soon, and the eggs won't hatch anyway, which doesn't matter for the bird. But if you want the eggs to follow through that whole process, the bird would have to pick it at just the right time. So maybe what happens is that the worm normally knows it's going to lay eggs. She wants to go to a spot where it's better for laying eggs, and the birds usually know where that is.
No, sorry, Andy.
Oh, come on, that was a good one. I thought that was great. The birds are going. Any moment that worm would be right here. This is where it lays its eggs, and the worm comes. And, how did you know I was going to lay my eggs there? I mean, no, you don't
Because
like
that
that.
human put that thing over top of avocado tech. A lot of the guys use, but any fruit will do, and the worms all gather in there. So maybe that's what the birds think. It was that Andy guy. He was putting out these melons where all the worms are going to gather, and we can just go to the melon and eat there. Because
Well, I know that they're
nice
worms.
guy.
I know their worms are maggots, and maggots are like little worm flies. Worms, the fly stage for the worm stage for the certain flies.
Yeah,
So
the larvae.
maybe something like that happens, but I think it has something to do with their little tiny eggs. Maybe easier to get around up there. Like you said, whether they get not entirely destroyed when they were eaten, or maybe it just got blown because a lot of times they could do it on the ground, and maybe the wind could just blow them up there. You never know, right?
Yeah, I think it would take more like a tornado to get it up there because there'd be a
Really, you think
lot of
so?
strength. But yeah, I would say it would be the birds eating the worm, and they're having an egg sac that goes through the system, like seeds. How do the bird move seeds around? They eat the seed, it goes into their gut, it comes out the other end.
Maybe Yellow Hippie is right because I think that you cut a worm in half, sometimes they survive.
Depends on the type of worm,
Right,
guys.
right,
I do know
right.
there are some that do, but I think, yeah, I'm not that into worms where I know how much a percentage you'd have to have for it to survive, like the lizard growing a new tail.
So maybe it's that type of worm that when the bird takes it up there, he only gets half of it, and the other half falls into the gutter and crawls away and grows into another worm. And that's all you really need is one worm to have thousands of worms. So somehow there's one worm gets up there. Maybe a worm is always there. When everybody, when like the ultimate cycle, there's always one worm stays behind, doesn't go anywhere. How about, and you can't say no, the master worm or the mother worm. Every
you're
gutter
not
has
dealing
a
with
worm.
ants here, Andy. Okay,
Every
actually,
gutter has a worm that stays up there and lives up there.
maybe he's not
No,
just not cleaning out the gutter enough. There's
who
one
gets rid of the
stuck there.
worms? Oh yeah, the guy says he got rid of the worms. Maybe he didn't get rid of all the worms. Maybe there's like one worm was sneaking behind or something, or maybe he left
I
the
think
worm
we
behind.
went so far off into left field that we're just having the giggles right now talking about worms.
But worms are actually very good sign when it comes to weeds as well, because worms
Yes.
and weeds go along really well. The worms both the worms and the weeds aerate the soil.
And allow water and moisture to flow through the soil through the
Exactly
tunnel.
right. So they both kind of work hand in hand really well to get together. And so it doesn't mean that when you see weeds, you're not going to see worms. But I think that if the soil had lots of worms, the soil would be very, very healthy and would have less and less weeds.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have worms in your soil, you don't have a living soil because they eat the biology. So if you don't have any worms, you have no biology, and you have dirt, you have dead soil.
And that is a big part of it, because the part of the living soil really has a lot to do with other things that live or inhabit the same area, whether it be birds, insects, weeds, animals, humans, whatever is part of the overall biology and how we interact with it and how we are part of the recycling, what we do to help the process or hinder it. Because it seems to me like we're hindering it. Seems like we're making it harder and harder for the biology to survive. It's going to survive, but it makes it a lot more difficult once we keep throwing toxins at it, or radiation, or any other mixtures of things that normally would not happen. Like the climate change.
I think the biggest problem that people need to realize, Andy, is we can only push the biology so far before we have a collapse. And we're getting pretty close to that edge. You look at the farmers' fields and the lack of biology and life there. We're not getting into our systems anymore the way we were supposed to. And we're getting close to that collapse. And if that happens, it doesn't matter, because we just won't be here anymore. She'll shut us off and she'll hit the reset button, and we can stop it. But we have to do what you're doing, Andy. Keep adding biology back into the systems as much and as fast and as broadly as we can, and that's why, our guest last week, is so important. The message that he has with the biochar, is that is a real good place for you to store biology and add it into a soil structure.
Right, carbon is a key word there, and I learned that if you want to make all the trace minerals available, you had better have a good amount of carbon,
because it makes up the biology that's going to eat and break up those other minerals to get them into the plants. If you don't have the carbon there for them to build their bodies with, there's no army going in and helping you out to build this stuff. It's like, call in the Marines, give me more carbon.
And that's the key to it. So if you don't have a lot, and so the Earth is very interesting because carbon is one of the easiest things that it makes.
It's everywhere, and we're trying to sequester it away from the plants and the biology that need it, where all we have to do is add the biology back into the soil, and the carbon's going to be in their bodies, and then there won't be this excess of carbon. It'll be in the soil with the living organisms it's supposed to be working with.
So the solution is very, very easy, guys. Plant more.
More roots in the soil,
It'll help the
biology.
water situation too, because it won't be so necessarily so hot. It'll regulate the climate a lot more. The forests are
Yeah.
very good at that. We want to have. It's not too late to have forests, more and more forests, and we just have to keep at it, and we have to stay clean as long as possible because it's going. What terpenes? What are the terpenes? Oh yeah, they're needed to break down toxins. Right. I look tired. Get some rest. Oh no, I don't feel anything. I feel.
Uh-oh. You're falling over, Andy. We're losing you. We're losing you.
There it goes. There it goes.
Oh, yes. Well, we are at the hour. So we're going to cut the show there. Remember, we got James White on Monday with Leighton. So more on horizontal gene transfer. And, of course, John and I on Monday. Guys, I had said I was going to be going to Ontario. Unfortunately, we relooked at the budget. I'm not going to be able to afford to make Ontario for the Grow Up and for Camp Canada, but I will be able to make them in Alberta. But anyway, Andy, say peace out, and we're going to end the broadcast.
Take care. Bye.